G'day guys, it is Ben here from Hunt the Night. Now, this is an intro to a field video, which you're going to see in a minute. And it's the second time I've done this video, because I did this video the other day, and I did something really wrong, which really actually made the effect of the video adverse. Now, for those of you that didn't see the video the other day, you won't know what I'm talking about. But that's okay. For those of you that did, you'll get an idea of what I'm talking about. And what we've done today is an impact test. It's a point of impact test of purely clamping these three clip-ons. So we've got the Krypton, the CH50 V2, and the TH50C onto your rifle with no adjustments and pointing and shooting. The reason I did this video, redid it, is because the other day when I did this, I had really adverse results, like shocking, like, you know, 2 feet or a foot or so out of point of impact. And the reason why that is these devices are all calibrated in the factory. And by that I mean is the screen is set up with the image, so the image is in the middle of the screen, the point of impact and, you know, is the point of reference is the same. So when I changed this one to a different gun profile, because I wanted to say, oh, I'll start from scratch rather than having it in you know, an X and Y coordinate of, you know, call it 6 and 9 or whatever. That was an unfortunate number to choose. I had it as an X and Y coordinate of 0 and 0, and that's why I got such adverse results. You've got to use and start from the factory default settings, because they've done that testing and they've done that that calibration. That's the reason why the TQ50 can't be used as a clip-on in changing it, because it hasn't had that calibration. Now, I'm yet to test it, but I reckon I can still use the original TQ50 and just adjust my turrets. But the TQ50C, as you'll see in the video, has got that calibration in it. So that's why I've redone this video. Now, this video isn't a negative against clip-ons. Clip-ons are absolutely fantastic. They're versatile. But it's a lesson of still make a change, test it. Because what marketing companies say and what actual results are can be different things. And I see that in everything. I don't see that just in thermal devices. And I see it in thermal devices when, you know, I read marketing last night that a certain monocular can easily pick up a human at 2,000 yards. Yeah, no, it can't. You might see a tiny heat blob, if you're lucky, of a human with that monocular, but it's not going to be easy, and you're not going to know it's a human. You're going to know it's a heat blob. So you've got to get past the marketing, and we've got to test it. We've got to use it, and you've got to have that expectation. A clip-on needs to be tested and probably zeroed. A lot of people are going to tell me, no, it doesn't. I've had all that. That's great. That's your experience. But that shouldn't necessarily be someone else's experience. I had experience with one of these clip-ons where I probably would have been perfectly happy taking it into the field without adjusting it, because it wasn't that far off the point of impact. But we'll leave that up to the video, guys. Anyway, enjoy it. Please subscribe to the channel, share the video. It's a really important one, I reckon. And tag a vegan. G'day, guys. It is Ben here from Hunt the Night. Now, what we're going to do today is a clip-on impact test. Now, what I mean by that is a lot of people buy clip-on devices thinking you can just clamp it onto your rifle and there's no need to zero them. And the reason why I'm testing this is because I've got 3 different devices here, which are our most popular ones. We've got the Krypton, the InfiRay CH50 V2, and the HIKMICRO TH50C. And they all market these slightly differently. Pulsar market the Krypton as clip it on and go, there's no need to zero. InfiRay market the CH50 V2 as needs to be zeroed, but no need to re-zero. That's their phrase, is no re-zero. Where HIKMICRO say, test it, zero it, and make sure it's good, which I think is the appropriate way to market it. So what we're going to do today is we're going to shoot first at the top left corner there where it says glass, just to make sure our impact's okay. Then we're going to throw the Krypton on, and I've got 2 targets for each one. So the first time we shoot this, it's just going to be aligned horizontally with the rifle. And then we're going to shoot it again by turning it to the right or the left, doesn't matter which way, and see if there's a change of impact. Because some people say it doesn't matter if it's aligned or not, and other people say that it does. So we're going to test that as well. Anyway, guys, let's get into it. We'll take some video between each shot. All right, so today's setup, guys, is going to be my Sauer Pantera 223, the Shawmax suppressor on it. The scope is my Delta HD 4.5 to 30. We're shooting at 50 meters. So anything, obviously, that we do at 50 meters is going to be twice that at 100 in terms of impact. Yeah, we're going to be using the Rused modular adapter system because it is by far the best adapter system and most repeatable adapter system on the market. it is also then adds us a little bit of consistency across all the devices. We're going to be using the factory default settings. So all of these have been pre-aligned in the factory, and we're going to test to see how good that is. All right, let's get on to it. All right, so this is our control sample. I pulled the second shot, which is the high one. I usually sight my 223 at 1 inch high. I am using hand loads that I've designed for this rifle, and those two that are touching, I'm pretty happy with that. So that's kind of our impact pattern, and that's what we want to see repeated when we now move over to the Krypton. All right, so as you can see, we've now got the Krypton on, and it's aligned horizontally, so we're going to take our first 3 shots. All right, first test of the Krypton, and as you can see, it's shooting significantly lower and a little bit to the right. There you go. Now, we're going to rotate the device, and we're going to shoot at the second target. All right, as you can see, I've rotated the device to the right, so I'm going to shoot it and see if this makes a difference in an impact. All right, so after rotating the device, we can see that the point of impact is still about on the same horizontal plane, but has moved over to the left. So definite point of impact shift there when we also rotate the device. Let's test the CH50 V2. All right, so now I've got the CH50 V2 lined on. Now this is actually a retest of these devices because the last time I did this, I didn't use the factory default collimation. I think it's called collimation settings. I used a different profile on here that had no settings on at all, so no calibration out of the factory. So this time I'm making sure I've got the calibration from the factory turned on. All right, well, as you can see, the CH50 V2, it's also shooting a little bit lower, but it's a bit more centered, which is pretty good. We're going to rotate it and see what happens. All right, so as you can see, I've now rotated the CH50 V2. Now we'll shoot it and see how it performs. All right, so just like the Krypton, orienting the device and changing the device's position definitely changes the point of impact. So that's probably a key consistency here, is that orientation at the moment seems to be consistent in terms of it needs to be in line with how the manufacturer set it up. And that has to do with how the pixels move and the lines and the grid system on the screen. Anyway, let's go try the TQ50. All right, so now I've got the TQ50C. Now this is the C, not the standard version. And the reason we're using the C is because of the calibration that it has in the factory. The TQ50 doesn't have that. So the TQ50C is meant to be, clamp it on, and should be pretty close to point of impact. We'll see what happens. All right, as we can see, we're shooting low and to the left with the TQ50C. Anyway, we'll rotate it and see what happens. All right, so I've rotated the TQ50C, and now I am going to go and see what that does. All right, well, as you can see with the TH50C, it's a little bit more dramatic, that point of impact shift. When you rotate the device, it's missing to the left by a good couple of inches now. So guys, there it is. That's the impact test. None of this is negative, and none of this is a criticism. This is just a reminder that any time you make a change to your rifle, whether it be ammo, for me it's also different suppressors, you've got to check it. It's like putting on a new scope. You can't just bore sight it and expect it to be okay. You bore sight it and then you check it and adjust it. It's the same as these. Clip-ons are awesome. I love my clip-ons. I'm using the Krypton and the CH50 V2 heaps. The TQ50C is going to be added into my field kit as well because I've only just got it. But I absolutely love using clip-ons because I love my glass scope, I love my reticle, I love my holdover information. There's so many positives about using it. So none of this is a negative. This is purely if you clamp something onto your rifle or change something on your rifle, check it. Check to see what impact it's made. Zero it, look at our other video in terms of how to zero it, and you're done. Good as gold. All right, guys, talk to you later. Have a great one. Tag a vegan.